Here we are back at it, playing 6-card Omaha high-low. BlueStacks is the app. Playing with 10-20 blinds, heads up, and a 4 ante, 100 big blinds deep each, approximately. Playing against a guy that I don't have experience against. He may be someone I've played before who's changed his screen name, but I haven't seen this guy before. All right, an interesting hand right away. So I flopped the top boat because I have pocket eights and because there's no low draw yet. I think I'm just going to check this flop. Okay, now there's a low draw. Now I have a little bit of a better boat. If he has pocket aces now, he's ahead of me. But because there's a low draw, I'm going to start betting. Don't want to give him a free draw for half the pot. And it's worth noting I don't have a low draw. So I think slow playing is okay until you're risking a significant portion of the pot. But he had no interest in that hand, so... Don't really have any read on this guy as of yet. He seems to be willing to give up on flops that he's missed. So I got a set here. Just gonna make a small little bet. He checked so fast on the flop, really made me think that he didn't have the straight, so just take that one down. Don't really love this hand, but maybe I'll just do a little min raise, see how he plays against a min raise. Haven't done this yet. Yeah, not a good flop with lows on board, and I've got a high only hand. But he does give up on a lot of flops, so I'm going to make a little bet here and see if he is willing to give it up. Nope. He's sticking around. I don't think he's got an ace-3, but he's got something here that he likes, so I think now is a good time to just give up. Here's double suited aces, so we're gonna raise this one. That's not a bad flop for my low, and I do have the nut flush draw. Of course, I could already be up against a boat, but as I said, he's pretty quick to give up on these flops. Not much for us here, just got shot. Against someone who's as passive as this player is, I think limping in, like completing on the small blind with your weakest hands is okay. But I'm still folding some really weak holdings. I'm gonna make a bluff now into this pot. He's showing weakness, and my low draw is probably the better low draw. And he min raises here. So I could put in 30 to try to get back 70 if my low comes in. And I think that's what I'm going to do. No, missed the low. So he min-raised there. He had a weak flush and a set. So I guess he min-raised that turn just to get a cheap showdown. Gonna raise this ace 3-6. It's not a great hand, but he's playing pretty passively, so I think we can get away with it. Not a good flop for me, but still firing just because he's given up on a lot of flops. Well, we now have the second nut low, way behind 3-4, but as long as he doesn't have 3-4, this is going to be a hard bet for him to call. He's still chasing. I think with 3-4 he'd be betting here, so I'm going to try to steal this from him. I'm going to assume that he was calling on the flop and on the turn, or I didn't bet the flop, I guess, but I'm going to assume he, oh no, I did bet the flop. I think, I'm hoping that he was calling there with the flush draw and just gives up now, which he did. So I think that was a pretty safe river bet, even if he calls. I think I'm going to get back half the pot with that 3-6 low, only losing to 3-4 on that board for the low. And I had no chance to win with my high, I'm assuming. Just ace, queen. So I think it's a good way to bet and take down the 290 in the pot that would have otherwise been his half. Really missing everything. But I'm going to make just a little bet. I'm going to bet even less than half the pot here, which I sometimes do on paired boards. Because that's also what I would do if I had pocket kings or king 6. So now my low draw is back in play. I'm tempted to follow through. And I have a straight draw. And I'm going to take a risk and follow through here with the bet. Hopefully he wasn't just smoothing with, you know, pocket sixes or king 6 kings on that flop, but no, he gives up. So that's good to know. He'll call just my little speculative 2/5 of the pot bet there on the flop, but then he gives up right away on the turn. And that's part of 6-card Omaha, is people have it more often, but they also will give you credit more often. Here I flopped a full house with my 9-10. Of course, I'm losing to pocket 10s, which is going to happen more often than not. Not more often than in other games when you're playing a 6-card. And there's no low draw, and I have 2 overcards, so I don't really have to worry too much about being counterfeited. And I'm just going to bet half the pot. He gave up right away. Could have maybe slow played it. Only really need to worry about queens and kings coming. So again, with my ace deuce, I got the nut low draw. Nothing really for the high, but I feel like this pot is less likely that he's going to fold to my bet, because with the 8-9, there's a lot of straight draws out there that he could have. 2 pairs and all that. And he did call. Now this turn is interesting because now I didn't make my low. I still have the nut low draw. And I now have the nut flush draw. And I don't want to get check raised off of it if he turned a straight. Although he plays so passive, he might even just check call if he has a straight, knowing that I could have a straight and a low. He seems like the kind of guy to be worried about being quartered. So just to see what's going to happen, I'm going to make a bet here that he'll probably fold if he doesn't have a straight. Okay, so he's calling. And of course I get bailed out. I now have the nuts. So everything's just going my way. Really my best hope now is that he's had the queen high or jack high flush. I think if he did have the queen high flush and the straight, I would have heard from him on the turn. But I'm just going to make 2/3 bet. Hopefully he makes crying call, and he does. So I was very lucky there in that hand. Made runner flush, but of course I did have the nut low draw, which protects me quite a bit. And he never bet. He gave me the betting lead. He might have been setting a trap that I was walking into, but with a big draw I got bailed out. And again, he may have had on the turn the straight, like maybe the nut straight, or maybe he had a worse straight with the queen high or jack high flush draw, like he could even have queen jack of spades. But I guess he doesn't want to re-raise me on the turn for fear that I've got the same straight as him, even assuming he has the nut straight and a better low draw, or like I said, the flush draw or a set. He doesn't want to jam all his money in and have me free rolling on him, or end up he gets quartered. I don't know that that's what happened, but that's kind of what I'm suspecting, because otherwise I think I hear back from him. And we know when he calls on the river, he's got something. He could have also had ace deuce with just a queen high flush draw that then gets there on the river, and he just feels like he has to pay off. But that's the advantage of having the nut low and the nut high draw. Obviously you want the nuts when it gets there, but even before it gets there, you can play more aggressively. And some opponents will gamble with you and risk getting quartered, and some play their hands timidly. Maybe timid isn't the right word. Maybe I just mean cautiously, conservatively. I try to make notes on my opponents, but I usually make notes on them when I see them make mistakes. I'll take a note of if they're just whales who are gambling, or if they're way too loose, if they chase too much, if they bluff too much. Those are the kind of notes that I take. And so the longer I play with someone that I don't take notes on them, that usually actually means they're pretty good, to the point where if I really recognize someone, their name in the lobby, and I don't have any notes on them, they're probably as good or better than I am, and those are the people I'm reluctant to play against. If I've played with you a bunch and I don't have notes on you, that actually usually means I haven't seen any flaws in your game, and you're probably it's probably that old adage where if I don't see you as the fish, then maybe I'm the fish. If I was going to put a note on this guy, I think it would be that he's cautious and doesn't play back at you without a hand. So here I flop trips, but I have to worry about him having 3-jack because I only have that one overcard, the king. So if he's got jack 3, then I only have 1 out. So I don't want to get too carried away with this hand, especially because there's only $48 in the pot, and I don't want to inflate the pot and find out later that I was just trying to win 48 bucks. And I think calling here is okay because I've shown a lot of weakness, so he could just be betting here with anything, a club draw, just a total bluff, a pocket pair, but he's played so passively to this point that I'm just going to give him credit for that. I don't mind giving people credit in the small pots. So far we've managed to win the big pots, so if he wins some of the small ones, that's okay with me. And as always, I say this every video, but I'm not even attempting to play any kind of GTO strategy or unexploitable strategy. I'm really just trying to exploit my opponents to see where my edge is against them. And I know that I'm giving up a lot of value in some of these spots. Hopefully they're littler spots, but there's many of them. Because I think in this club, this is a really great club where the player pool isn't very strong. So I'm just hoping that against these opponents, I'm going to find lots of spots where I can get a bigger edge against them. So we flopped 2 pair and a flush draw, but it's not actually that great of a flop for us. We went from having a really powerful low draw to now the 4-5, which is of course behind 3-4 and 3-5. It's still kind of pretty. It's coordinated for us. You know, we have the wheel draw, we have the flush draw, we have 2 pair, but we're way, way, way behind if someone has 3-4 or 3-5, and then basically an ace. They don't even need to have 2 pair because that ace deuce isn't going to hold up very often if someone has their own ace, and especially if they have ace 6 or a bigger flush draw. We're actually way behind, so which in 6 card isn't that uncommon, especially when everyone's playing every ace deuce and ace 3-4 that they get. That might have been a decent hand in 4 card to have ace deuce 4-5 on that flop, but in 6 card it's very dangerous, and if the pot gets big, you're definitely behind without really any great outs, well, except for the 3, except for making the wheel. I'm gonna complete with this. I don't like this hand there, and now I'm folding, so in 6 card, low pocket pairs are not helpful at all. Ace 6 isn't any kind of low at all. It's behind 4-5 as a low. Obviously any 5, any 4 as a low is better than ace 6, so I'm gonna min raise this. It's not a great hand. If he'd repotted, I think I'm just folding, but we're hitting some flops. So now we got the nut flush draw. Having 4 spades is a lot worse than having 2 spades because obviously we're blocking 2 of our own spades, but it also just reduces the chance that he's got 2 spades. If you have the nut spade draw, of course you want your opponent to have some spades in their hand to make a worse flush potentially, or chase a worse draw. Also, ace 4 is the second best low draw, only behind ace deuce. And we've got a straight with our 4-5-6. So this is interesting that he's repotting. I've seen him do this before, actually, before I started this video, and he did this when he had a set. So I'm thinking he might have a set of kings right now, in which case, even before the jack of spades comes on the turn, we're probably ahead. Just to have that good low draw and the nut flush draw, your equity is very, very close there. So he had a set of threes and a set of sevens, which goes to show why you don't want really low pocket pairs. Obviously he gets unlucky that he hits the flush, but his only chance there with the set of sevens and set of threes, well, he's blocking his own full house, and the set of sevens isn't terrible, but the set of threes, if that was all he had, you know, how often does that even end up making the best hand? When if the board pairs, it's so easy for your opponent to have turned two pair into a full house. Well, that's this video. Fun video, only 21 minutes. I think I finished up. Oh, I thought I bought in more than I thought I did. That's interesting. Okay, so I thought I finished up 1800, but I only finished up 800. Well, that's fine. Still good for 21 minutes. Didn't get too in depth in the conversation, but just a fun little video. Thanks for watching.